Hello everyone, and welcome to the SG Live Show. My name is Jennet, and I'll be your host tonight. And before we start, three important things that I would like to talk. First of all, it's a live stream. So things can go wrong. There is an internet connection might go wrong. That's why if there are any technical problems, issues, we will take care of them. Secondly, we're here just because we would like to share, connect with you and hear from you. That's why, should you have any questions, please email us at live@redrisk.com. And the last one, but the important one, as you can see, we do have our live chat. Should you have any questions, opinions, suggestions, expressions, please feel free to shoot your chat and we'll be happy to answer all your questions. So let's start and talk and rock and roll. Today, we would like to continue the topic that has been brought up by Charlie and Sonny this Tuesday. They discussed workforce engagement, safety in mind. And I do believe that it's an important topic that I would like to continue, discuss. I think so many factors that might influence the engagement of our workforce and engagement of our colleagues. And before I start talking and asking questions and maybe trigger hot discussions with my colleagues, I would like to bring on board my team. Sonny, hi. Gemma, hi Gemma. Charlie. Tamer.
Hi, Jennet.
Yes. As you can see, I think we have an entire globe with us, so and I hope it's going to go wild. Coming back to our discussions, I'll try to bring all academic knowledge and evidence into practical application. I think it's enough that we talk about statistics, numbers, science. I think it's time now to talk about and bring the most valuable information to our listeners. And that's why let me remind you one more time, should you have any questions, feel free to connect us, email us, chat, and we'll be happy to answer. I would like also to remind my colleagues and my team members that we're here to connect, share, and learn. That's why I would like to start talking about employee engagement. On Tuesday, Charles talked about engagement. He talked about the...
Sorry, Jennet.
Yeah.
Can I just suggest everybody mute and then,
please,
if possible, let me see. I think it might be, I'll tell you what, I'll mute on this end, okay? Right, that's better. Sorry, Jennet, go ahead.
No problem. So Charlie and Sonny and Sanjay, you talked about the workforce engagement, and I think you covered a lot of interesting topics like external, internal factors that influence the relationship between our colleagues, between management and workforce. You talked about the interesting statistics on the employee engagement. It was funny and interesting, I guess, to see how the disengaged employees, they are not changing their attitude in there's some social or critical situations, but you can see different trend if it comes to the engaged employees. You also covered the interesting psychological model PERMA, I guess, and I think we'll come back to that. However, today I would like to touch on different topics, but they also kind of connected to the employee engagement. Why? Because all the time I'm trying to keep in mind that we do have our listeners. And I would like to talk about the topics that are the most valuable for our listeners so they can take away, they get them some lessons. So let's share our experience. And the first topic that I would like to talk about, it's an interesting, and that's my observation basically, it's about care. Care, because I think it was March, Sonny, remind me, I think March session or stream that we had with Dominic Cooper and Scott Geller, and we discussed that about the future of BBS, talked about the different types of leadership. And what I did during our discussion, I started noting how many times we use different words. And you will be surprised that the word number one that comes at the most frequently used word whenever we talk about leadership, care. Not trust, not recognition, not communication, but care. I started digging on that topic, and what I found actually, care means what? So let me remind you that they say that care is about attention. Care is about trying to demonstrate concern to someone. Care is about trying to understand the needs of someone. Care is about attachment and importance to something or anyone. It's a serious attention or consideration. What I did as well, I looked back to the evidence. Remember, Dom keeps telling us, look for the evidence, look for the evidence. So I did. And looking at the evidence of leadership, it is interesting that doesn't matter what type of leadership we're talking, transformational, transactional, resilient, what type of management we've got, there is always care that sits at one of the founding, grounding element. Yeah. So guys, I would like to bring up that discussion at the first part of our live stream and live show, and remind you, all our listeners, should you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and send us the questions. So, Gemma, any thoughts on care? Have you thought about care as one of the tools to promote, engage, and motivate our workforce?
Right. Well, really, it's being authentic. People won't take you seriously about your telling them how to do things safely if they don't actually believe you care about them. So to actually care rather than to tick boxes, and really to, sorry, my colleague here is leaving. Come down there. So he came up for a cuddle and now he's had enough. So to actually authentically care about people rather than do it because you are trying to get them to do something, because it's very obvious when you're not authentic. People know that, they take it as deceit. You're doing it for vested interest rather than for their benefit, and they won't trust you. So as soon as you've then lost that trust, you might as well not bother.
So are you saying that care comes with authenticity and care comes along with trust?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you are looking after the health and safety of people, you have to actually think of them as people, for starters. A lot of times people are just numbers, but you can't. They are all individuals. They all have a completely different perception. They all have a different outlook. And you have to acknowledge that and authentically care about them, because if you don't, they are just numbers. They then don't give you the same engagement back because they're just a number. So why the hell should they?
Yeah, but coming back to the workplace, there was an interesting article recently I read that care leads to commitment, while control leads to compliance. From other side, aren't we interested in compliance? So let me trigger that discussion, because at the end of the day, safety culture, it's a behavioral choice. It's a one part of them. We would like our employees to take, our workers, our colleagues to take the right choices. And safety culture, safety performance, this is at the end of the day something that we would like to develop, positive safety culture and compliance and performance. And I'm trying to be a bit nasty on you guys, but I think it's about trying to say, okay, from one side, we would like to demonstrate care, which needs to be authentic, as Gemma said, but from other side, we're interested in compliance. So any thoughts, guys, on that? And then I'll share with you my thoughts. Charlie, any thoughts on care, commitment, compliance, control?
Charlie might be having
box again.
Yeah. Charlie might be having technical issues, but Charlie's on mute.
No problem. What I'm talking about, because I believe that what Gemma said, authenticity and being authentic, Somebody joined with a huge noise in his background.
Charlie's got some. Charlie's the only one I can. Charlie, I don't know if you can hear me, but
yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Great. Okay.
You were asking me about care.
Yeah.
Yes, we're told we do. We're interested in your opinion with regards to care.
Okay, from my perspective, care is correct. Is part of our social connectedness. I can give care to you in a variety of manner, or you can give or show care to me, and it's connected to giving care. Will elicit positive emotion. I'll probably end up dragging myself back into the PERMA model, but care is one of those aspects of our relationship that will elicit a positive emotion with the person that you're giving the care to, or the person that is receiving the care. I think that care is part of that positive emotion in that relationship issue. You can't really have a relationship, either personally or at work, without actually caring for somebody from at the most basic human level.
I agree. I completely agree. What I would like to summarize what Charlie says, and I think I understand you right. Care, as you mentioned, it's something that helps you to build that social relationship with your colleagues. Mm-hmm. So isn't it like that care answers the question why we want and get that buy-in from our colleagues? So care, I think we have to move, Charlie, because it's, thank you. Care is something that answers the question why we need that workforce engagement, because we do care. Just a minute ago, we saw how Gemma was caring for her dog.
Yeah.
Something authentic. Is that something that comes from her inner side? Or it's something that we might, unfortunately, sometimes simulate at the work site, talking about politics, talking about safety policies, talking about some procedures and standards. That's why I would like to bring another question is like care. Is that something that comes natural as a part of the leadership, or something that we'll have to communicate, explain, or maybe it's something that we'll have to develop as long as we develop our leadership skills?
Jennet, can I just we've got quite a few people online now, just to let you know that I'll feed the questions in as people start to chime in. Can I just take this opportunity to say hello, Kimona, welcome. Nice to see you back on the show. And Mohammed, nice to see you on the show as well. So I'll feed the questions in, and they should pop up at the bottom. Obviously, I don't want to throw you off track, so I'll keep them in the background just to let people know.
Please do that, Sonny. Please do that, because I believe our listeners, that's why we're here, would like to share and learn and hear from them. So please do interrupt me.
All right, okay. Can I just throw some context to this? Because Charlie, if you can hear me, apologies, we seem to have some connection issues because of your microphone or something. So we'll mute you in and out when we can, just to isolate it as well. Just to add a bit of context, and then I'll hand it back to everybody. When we spoke, Charlie and me and Sanjay and Jorge on Tuesday, God, it feels like a long time ago, but we talked about, and you're absolutely right, Jennet, we talked about the words like recognition, but I've got them here, recognition, communication, trust, and evergreen. And you were absolutely right in pointing out that care was a big thing that we talked about pre-COVID. Yeah. Dominic, I'm almost nervous saying pre-COVID now, but certainly it's a very, very important thing. And get everyone's thoughts on the chat as well. If you all seem to be in agreeing that care is good. So Jennet, back to you, and I'll shut up and just hand it back to you now.
No, it's not about. Thank you so much for summarizing. I think, and I encourage everyone who has not watched the show with Charlie, please do. Talking about care, another thing that struck my mind, it's actually COVID situation that you mentioned, Sonny. Yeah.
Sorry.
I won't. And talking about different type of crises that we got in different countries, we cannot deny that. And all those factors, external factors that Charlie actually mentioned, and Sonia, you mentioned on Tuesday, external factors, they do influence the safety climate. safety culture, and of course the relationship and the attitude and all the rest of our elements of the workforce engagement. And interestingly to see that I'm a big believer in care, and I believe that it's just a matter of time. But what we see now, we're looking at the changes, and we see how the leadership is changing with coming with COVID. And we're seeing that there are different type of leadership styles that are succeeding and failing, because I do believe that COVID is something that will audit our leadership styles, and it will verify our leadership styles. And care is not always about being nice. And I'm coming to another type of question that I would like to throw on you guys. Care is not about being nice all the time. Care is not about being polite all the time. Care is also about sending the hard, tough messages, conveying the messages, especially during COVID, about the diseases, about the situation, about financial problems, about the business, and all those. We cannot distract, we cannot take away safety from the rest of the business. The health and safety is part of entire risk profile of our company. So my next question is, do you think care, leadership, and workforce engagement is related to the leadership style? If yes, how? And do you have any case studies or any practical experiences that you would like to share with our listeners? Anyone? Raise your hand.
So I think just to add a bit more context to this, because you've met the stream team today. Gemma's in the UK. She works for a food. Is it right to say food business, Gemma? Is that okay? Charlie's in Riyadh. He's in project HSE management. Tanner's corporate HSE manager. Salom works in oil and gas. So he makes all the big bucks. Yeah. So beers and drinks are on Salom tonight. Okay. And so just to say that from my perspective, and I'll pass it around to everybody else as well, I think it's important to get everybody's thoughts on this, because you're all so diverse in your background, really diverse. So I think it'd be good to get from a corporate high level perspective. Tanner, what do you think?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in the show with all of you. I would like to say there's something about care that is, from my point of view, it should be reasonable care and reasonably practicable care with the workforce and with the employees in the organization. But I believe that a leader should be open for communication, because listening and getting feedback, being open to get information, and because each and every people have their own stories, okay, whether they are having difficulties in the workplace. The leader should be open to listen, and should provide reasonable care to the employees that they are working together. That's what I think when it comes to care.
Tanner, could you please share maybe one case study, maybe a difficult message that you had to send to your workforce, or maybe some difficult situation that you had to deal with? Because I believe that workforce engagement is not only when everything goes smooth and nice during normal operations, but it's actually about support and care whenever is needed. Any case studies, any experience?
Recently, we are all experiencing the negative effect of this COVID-19 situation, and at some point, so many organizations had to cut, let's say hours, maybe this salary deductions from this, the employees, and I know a lot of people, managers, founders, they are not taking their share from the organization which they are making. Let's say that. The care comes to what you said, that the giving the message is important. We, as an organization, we all are in one ship. Let's say we are going through one direction, and having the resources, enough to pass the COVID-19. That is one challenge for each and every organization. That because so many organizations having cash flow problems, these are the things. And including us and so many company in the UAE Middle East had to cut, some, let's say, some salary deductions and some other benefits for a short period of time, which was hard, for everyone. I mean, nobody wants to get their salary cut at some percentage. That's one thing that we, not only my company, but so many companies in the Middle East had to face this tough decision, and it was not easy. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much. Any Salom, how's in your case in Ghana?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity and this question. For me, I just want to simplify care in terms of just to define care. You have to be committed. You have to act. Okay, management must act. They must provide the resources, and they must also engage the employees. So the whole concept of care has been enshrined in legislation, because I believe that in as much as care is very important for every organization to set the tone for a positive safety culture and also get people to participate in health and safety, it oftentimes doesn't come naturally because there are a lot of external influences that prevent people from really showing care. I think one is financial constraint, because most organizations are really on tight budget and they wouldn't want to allocate more resources. That is the reason why care has been enshrined in the duty of care in legislation. As far as you operate in an environment where there is adequate national laws, you are naturally obliged by law to demonstrate care by committing to health and safety, acting or taking action, providing the needed resources, and then engaging with employees.
I totally agree. Common duty of care. I forgot about that. Thank you for. It's an absolutely great comment, because it's actually bringing up the care to something that is a civil law. And I do believe that you mentioned about the budget, financial constraints. Isn't it like, if we do really care, is not or usually about only the actions, but also reactions. It's about saying and being transparent. It's about not information, but communication. It's about being transparent with your employees, especially COVID-19. I think it's very important to be transparent with your colleagues, with your workforce, and telling the truth and ensuring that we're in the same boat, as Tanya said, and we're going to one direction. Absolutely agree. But it actually brings me to the next question about, I think Tanner mentioned about reasonable care, and that brings me to another question: risk management and care, and risk management and workforce engagement, because risk management is the mother of safety. I mean, without risk management, we're not able to manage anything, including health and safety. Especially, it's going to be difficult to embed the safety into the rest of risk profiles and business in our organization. Reasonable care, risk management, and workforce engagement. How do you do that, guys? Do you engage your workers if it comes to risk management? And I would really welcome practical examples, practicality.
You must have scared Charlie off, because he's gone off, but he'll be back in a minute. Anytime you mention the word risk management, I had this conversation with someone before, and they said, "Oh, that's a grown-up conversation."
Yeah, it's not a big grown-up, but I'm talking about more. Let me bring you back again. Workforce engagement. Risk
Charlie's back now.
Can he talk? Can he join? Or
yeah, he can. So while Charlie's battling with his internet connection there, let me throw my dime in, and then give you my thoughts.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So it's interesting you put care, because Dom and Scott and everyone else, and Gemma was in the show as well. We talked about care a lot, and we all know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, don't we? Good old Abraham Maslow. And I think when you look back at what Scott said, I think Scott said something really, really interesting. Yes. Yeah. What Scott said was, and it stayed with me for a long time. He said, Abraham Maslow, when he produced the hierarchy of needs, and he put this wonderful triangle, and he put all that stuff together, just before a few years before he passed away, he said, I made a mistake on that triangle. I forgot to say that there is a transitional process, where a human being evolves to a point where they care. And that's how the whole conversations of care came about. It wasn't no longer about me. At the top of Maslow's triangle, there was another piece which he said he forgot, which is all about caring. I think it's an interesting question that you've asked, because my experience with this is I'm an oldie moldy, okay? So I started in industry when safety people were considered as safety officers or the safety police. We weren't given the opportunity to be considered as humans. Believe it or not, it was as bad as that back 25, 30 years ago. But as times evolve, we've got more and more into caring. And now, are we at a point where we possibly put too much emphasis on care? I mean, do we get to the point where we say, I care for you, let's have a hug, are we getting to that point like that now? Gemma, you're nodding your head.
No, I emphatically was not. I'm not hugging anybody.
Well, yeah, not now. Well, don't do that now. Exactly. But what's your? But,
I can't like 6 foot distance. People can stay 6 feet away.
But from a philosophical point of view, without getting too tangible and physical, okay, from a philosophical point of view, from an emotional perspective, could we ever care too much?
No. But let me remind you, Sony, that the second question, the second word that was during that discussion, it's about being human. It's about human, and it's about that talking about the Maslow hierarchy on the top. It's again coming back to the being human, and talking about why do we care in general for health and safety. And I think moral reasons comes at the first one. So it's more about ethical issues. It's about moral issues. It's interesting. Let me remind you, there is a book, Thomas Krauser, I think, about the 8 dimensions of safety leadership. He did some investigation with regard to what are the main triggers, what are the main reasons why the top and senior management would care for health and safety. And we would think about the cost of incidents, we'll think about the social reasons, about the impact of society, reputation, production loss. However, evidence says that the main trigger for the senior managers is actually ethical issues. I had a case in my situation where I was invited by the senior, this what they call a CEO of the construction company, one of the largest construction company in our region. And he told me, Janet, I'm doing fine financially. Really, as a company, we're doing really good. We're doing so good if it comes to the growth of business. And I do have very good lawyers, Janet, so I don't have any issues in the court. But there is one thing, I cannot sleep at night. I have too many fatalities. And there is no more internal agreement, and I cannot live with that. And that was something that I will remember all my life. He said, it's not about money, it's about that moral reason that I have within me. And I believe that many companies, especially oil and gas business, I think some of you mentioned, they start bringing all this BBS or people-based safety. I prefer saying people-based safety, as Scott Geller says, not behavior-based safety. It's not about care only as senior management or an engagement of workforce. Don't you agree that we need to talk more about peer-to-peer care? And that's another element that I would like to talk about. At the end of the day, safety culture and positive safety culture is when we do care within peers, within our colleagues. It's when I look after you, you look after me. And I would like to bring that discussion, but you stopped me, Sony, talking about risk management. And I do still remember that.
I thought I got away with it. Never mind.
I'm trying to talk about that because I believe that I'm a stronger believer in data-driven safety and risk management safety. However, trying to bring those care, trust. Charlie talked about a lot of dignity, about, he talked about gratitude. Charlie talked about gratitude, saying thank you. However, again, Scott Geller talked that all those elements, they might be quite unnatural. So they might be kind of a playing game or trying to be nice, but there is something that risk management, where you need to take the risk to the alert level, to the but at the same time, how would you communicate to your employees why we need those safety glasses? Why do we need those safety gloves, which are uncomfortable? And why do we need to take extra care? And it might lead to some discomfort, some conflicts. And then we have shortcuts, and then we've got violations, and then we've got deviations. So any success stories, guys, on that? How would you communicate care when it's not being accepted?
One of the things I've always done is I will not introduce something without a good reason for it. So I've always said,
what is good for you, Gemma?
Well, what I mean is they can ask anything I say that we need to have, they can say why, anything at all. You can ask me why for absolutely anything. And I will give you a legal reason, a personal reason, a financial reason that you need to do it. If I can't give you that, you have to do it.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So my approach is generally, what do you need? Rather than going in and saying, you need to do this, it is, what do you need? So you don't end up with the lack of compliance because you're introducing safety gloves and they don't want to wear the safety gloves because they're uncomfortable. I don't care if they get a paper cut. I really don't. Don't give a monkeys if people get paper cuts. I will provide gloves so that they can wear them, so that they don't do themselves a serious injury. But if they're not wearing them while walking through a corridor, I don't care. If it says they have to wear them all the time, that takes away the idea that the person doing the job has any sort of understanding of how the job works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is to give the assumption that people who are doing the job know what they're doing. They do know why they should be doing it. They know that they aren't doing it for a reason. So why are they not doing it? Finding out why they don't want to do it, and then working with them to find something that works better. Either, you know, they don't want to wear these safety gloves. Right, okay, come with me. We'll go have a look at loads of different ones. Which ones suit? Which ones suit the workforce? So I have taken the warehouse man, one of our production staff. I took them to a health and safety event, loads of different exhibitions. Right, okay, go find things that will make your job easier. I will argue for money for it for you.
I like that approach. So you're saying that they know why they're doing it, but there is also an assumption that they need to know what needs to be done, and if there are some problems, you try to find the root cause, discuss, tackle the root cause, and identify. And that type of discussions I like a lot, because you have a scenario, you have a case, and you have a solution, and you get in the sharing the lessons. Yeah. I would like to take this moment to say hi to Karim, Louisa, Akanina, George. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm mistaking. I'm misreading the names. Kamona. I encourage all our listeners to take your time, ask the questions. We'll try to answer all your questions. We're here for you. We try to, and there is another question that comes from Rai Vadan, and he said it's very difficult to engage all the workforce. I think it's more a rhetorical question. I think there is no doubt that it's very difficult to engage. And I think Charles proved that last time. He said that there is always percentage of disengaged or actively disengaged employees. And so any thoughts how to answer to Rai? What to do with those who are disengaged, completely disengaged? Should we leave them alone? Should we concentrate on those who wants to go with us? You know, the theory of green dots, that we concentrate on, try to bring our team together, or any other thoughts? Charlie, would you like to talk about that? Actively disengage, what do we do with them?
Well, no, I think I covered that reasonably clearly on Tuesday. I have to be very efficient with my time, ruthless perhaps, because the industry that I work in and the projects I work in are all time driven. They're driven by the program as much as anything else. So I'm very pragmatic. I'm very particularly ruthless. If you're actively disengaged, then I'm sorry. I really have to move on and deal with those people that I can actually help and support. So from my perspective, I think, like I said last time, I'm pretty ruthless. I'm more interested in those that I'm not engaged, because it might just be a simple little thing that can move them up to being fully engaged. Now, the aspect of care within that, I think there's also the aspect of everybody's individual type of personality with regards to care. I think that in some cases, care within the workplace can actually be much easier for some than others. I think there's a lot of people that are drawn to the caring industry, the social services perhaps, the nursing, the medical, the theological perhaps. I think because you're in, I think we have to be careful that because you're in an HSE function, that there's an automatic default that you're suddenly a caring and you're going to hug the world sort of person. It may become very difficult for you to actually show your feelings, to genuinely care for someone. Another thing I think with regards to care is that you may have to deal with 250 people or 2,000 people. So therefore, how do you express that care for a large number of people? Because that expressing care for a large number of people will be really, really different to expressing care on an individual one-to-one basis. So I think from a care perspective, I think yes, it's important. Yes, people will be caring more than others because it's part of their personality and the industry they're in. And then I think there's that aspect of how do I care for 2,000 people? Because how I care for 2,000 people will be different to how I care for 2 people. I also think when we're talking about care within the concept of what we've discussed with workforce engagement, it becomes a bit of a reciprocal process. It becomes, I care for you, then I'm expecting you to care for me in return. However, again, that might not happen. It might be pretty much a one-way street. And again, if we get down that road, we know what happens there. People become jaded and they say, well, okay, I keep caring for you, but I'm not getting anything in return. And even from a personal perspective, you know where that leads to. That leads to divorce courts. And so I think care from our perspective, if you unpack that, and I hate seeing these sort of academic things, if you unpack it, deep dive into it, there's a huge amount of information and a huge amount of analysis that we can actually do a complete show on its own about care, probably a lot longer than we have at the moment. So from my perspective, I think there's a lot of factors there at play with regards to workforce engagement around showing and receiving care.
Okay, I've got the point. If you could mute yourself, Charlie, please, for a moment. Yeah, okay, let me summarize and try to make sure. Thank you so much. First of all, right, the answer for your question, how to engage those who are actively disengaged, go back to the Tuesday live show and try to watch the Charlie's presentation. I think I do agree with him that he well covered that on Tuesday. Second, Charlie mentioned that talking about care, if you have 250 people, 300, some plans, they do have 2,000, 5,000 people on site. How do we express care? And this is the point where I would like to challenge more, because I disagree with that. I believe that it's a matter of the way we do communicate. It doesn't have to be individual. When we talk about care, and that's my point of view, and I would like to bring it again to the hot discussion. It's not about coming to every person and saying, I do care for you. It's something that you can feel, something that you can convey within your management system, within your culture, within your leadership, within your commitment. And care might be also something systematic. So, and it's something that doesn't have to be only during safety walks or during personal face-to-face discussion. I think care is something that you can sometimes, when you come to a location, you come to the company and you can feel it in the air. You can feel it somewhere that you are cared here. Another thing that I would like to summarize what Charlie said, it's about what if I care for someone, but I don't get that in return. But isn't it like when we care, we are not expecting anything in return whenever there is a true care? And again, that's how I look at that. And at some point, when you continue caring, there might be the breaking point. But again, I'm a big believer in trust. I'm a big believer in humanity. And I'm a medical doctor at the end of the day. So I do believe that safety culture is when we develop that feeling, because if he's not caring after me and I do care for him, there must be a reason. It's a lack of trust, it's a lack of belief, it's because of pain, it's about because I failed, or it's about personality, as Charlie mentioned. That might be the reason, personality. Or as Dom keeps telling, it's about attitude, and I don't want anyone to change my attitude because it was given by my grandchildren, grandparents, and my parents. So thank you, Charlie, for sharing that. And I think that Sandra said,
I also want to make a point.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead. I'm very happy. Interrupt me, guys. Interrupt me. Yeah.
Yeah, you did mention that if you show care, you don't really expect anything in return. But unfortunately, that is a bit. For me personally, if I show care as a safety professional, I definitely want you to participate in health and safety arrangements. I think that the outcome of employee engagement is to get them to be involved in all the safety programs that helps us to prevent workplace accidents. And then again, second, just to comment on the point about if you have a large workforce, how do you engage them? I think that that is why the whole concept of engagement has been simplified in the form of information, instruction, training, and consultation. It is very, very important that you consult with workers, given the size of the workforce.
It was changed, Salome, because we need to go further now. We need to have active participation, and consultation is not sufficient anymore. So I think there is one more element that has been added. Gemma, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm right, it's a consultation needs to be also supported by active participation. And the thing that I would like to ask you, it's, consulting, that means I might agree, might disagree. I might
exactly. So that's the point.
To engage them like physically in decisions, in whatever we do, how to make them want to care one for another. That's the key, I guess.
The fact is that the health and safety arrangements are quite a lot, and they are the ones who are going to benefit from the arrangement, because to a large extent they are the ones going to implement the health and safety. You are probably sitting back to monitor performance, monitor how it goes, and feed whatever outcome back to them that they need to put in their best and continue improving their performance, or probably whatever the target is, you probably feed it back to them. I think that given a workforce of about 2,000, you can't definitely consult everybody like you rightly said, but you need to find a very structured approach. That's why there's safety representatives. So as an employer with a large workforce, definitely you should have a system or a policy that you want to engage safety representative, people that you recognize as a representative of the workforce. So you can then engage with them. They will in turn cascade whatever information down to the other colleagues. So that's my approach if I'm dealing with a large workforce.
I like it. I like your approach. You know why I like it? Because it's very practical. And it's very practical. So basically you're doing something physically, and safety leadership, it's about acting, not only being. So yeah, Sony, sorry, go ahead.
I purposely threw a curveball in earlier to see what the it's coming close to November the 5th, and it's bonfire night here on November the 5th. It's quite close to Diwali as well. Okay, so what I wanted to do was throw that question in, and I'll tell you why from a personal perspective. My daughter works in a school. She's a teacher. She's the most caring. Of course, I'm a doting father. I will say that she's the most caring person that I know. She will go in and she'll spend a lot of time showing care and attention, and she'll come home at the end of the day and she'll go,
Sonny, can you hear us? Sonny, we lost you. Sonny.
I think you fed Mo after midnight.
Sonny. I believe he wanted to mention that his daughter is not getting, maybe.
Yeah.
Sonny, are you back? No.
I think, well, one of the things is you can't care for others from an empty cup. You can't help other people when you are broken yourself. So I can often come back from work. I've been doing stuff with people all day. I've listened to their problems. I've listened to their health and safety requirements. We're doing mental health training as well. And sometimes I come home and I'm so done. I can't anymore. I've not got anything left, nothing left to give anybody. So I can't care anymore. I've used it all up. But I then have to find ways of regenerating myself. So that's another thing, is when you have to be actively showing this commitment, or you have to make yourself do it. And then you have to find ways of re-energizing yourself. Sonny's back.
Hey, listen, I think my daughter sabotaged that one. Okay.
Oh, you've been too nice and you've had enough.
Oh, well, no. I don't know what happened. You know, those pesky gremlins are at it again. All right.
Yeah, you said enough at midnight, didn't you?
Yeah. I was just saying that my daughter comes home and she nearly 4 or 5 days a week, she says, terrible place. I say to her, why? She goes, well, I go around and I show all this care. Nobody ever bothers giving anything back, right? And I said to her, do you think you're over caring? She goes, yeah, maybe I am, right? So when you look at the needle of safety, and I think I've swung all the way from bosses who are very dictatorial, very bullying, very demonstrative, you will do it, all the way to the other hand where it's all about bromance and safety huddles and safety cuddles and let's get together and all that stuff. When you go to that far end of the needle, the workers lost respect for you, especially in the oil and gas arena. They don't have as much respect. It might be a macho thing. I don't know what it is. It could be a humanistic thing. I don't know. But there has to be a point, a null point in every organization where that care needle works just about well, right? And I would say, I think care is important. It is important to care for people because we are human beings and we're going through tough times. But at the time you do care for people, you have to make sure that they're not disrespecting that. They're not abusing it, right? They're not doing something that you don't want, which in turn affects you and your mentality. Because we're into the area of mental health and well-being as well, yeah? How would you like...
I mentioned that a minute ago. She mentioned that
Right. So my daughter goes and does all this caring, comes back with a world of pain, and she's obviously getting some mental, bashing around, isn't she?
Yeah, but remember there was a very good article, Scott Geller, talking about how we share our care. Mm-hmm. Isn't it like whenever we mention that it's about how we're able also to perceive the care, isn't it, like the second part of the story? So it's not only courage to share the care, but it's also courage to accept that care. I know that it sounds silly, but look at that situation that I call it Geller's conflict in my lessons, because he mentioned about the story with his daughter and with her driving license.
Yeah, Krista,
and it's about whenever we do trying to convey or try care, we discussed today care as something emotional, personal, something humanic, something about being us as a human, ethical. But remember, guys, care is not only, that's my perception, is not only being and caring emotionally. Care from the safety culture perspective, it's about having robust systems as well. It's about having resources. It's about having quality training. It's about commitment. It's about leadership. It's about, like Gemma said, mental health. It's about quality root cause analysis. It's about what Charlie mentioned. It's about engaging disengaged ones, and etc. So talking about all those elements, it's not only about that we want to share our care like your daughter does, but it's about what methodology, what other ways of sharing that care we employ, because it needs to consider also the people we have on site. And if you have 2,000 employees, it's not going to be individual talks with everyone. It's not going to be trying to give as much care as you can. It's about building the leadership strong safety management system, where one of the elements needs to be why we do that, because we genuinely, authentically care. So trying to bring care a little bit to the more strategic level. I don't know if I can say that.
That's okay.
But,
Okay. I was going to say, let's take a quick sense check, because a lot of people have been really good and pumping out these questions. Sorry, Salam, I'm going to run through the questions and then we'll flick it back to you. So Gregor says, that's right. I guess he means that he agrees with all the care stuff that we're talking about. Jorge is offline, but he's chatting to us profusely through YouTube now. So he's flicked from LinkedIn to YouTube, and he's saying workers. And so Raj is saying we've covered that one already. Now, Raj, you've opened up a world of pain talking about zero accidents there, and you know I've done a video on this. Let's not go there, okay? It's very difficult to engage workers towards HSE. I'm just going to flick these up very quickly, Jennet.
yes.
Louisa says, hello, everyone. Hi, Louisa, on Facebook. Kareem says, great topic to discuss. Cheers. There are micro problems after 2,000 engagements are based on financial gains and job security. Well, that'd be a different concept now, I suppose, this year, wouldn't it? With all the used stuff in the background.
True.
So some great conversations there. Salam, you were about to say something and I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll just try to share that definitely care is good, but let's also understand that care has a cost implication. It has a cost implication on budgets, and that is why Tana did mention that you need to exercise reasonable care. It means that we should be able to strike the balance between committing all our resources to care for employees to also making sure it doesn't rip the employer significantly. So we need to be able to strike the balance so that I benefit both employer and employee. So just to buttress the point Tana made.
Thank you. And you actually answered the question that nobody answered about the risk management. It's actually bringing that care and the balance between reasonable care, balance, the cost, the difficulty, and the control measures, what we have in our hand as a company.
Yeah. I want to hear from Tana as well, but I will cover that risk management thing because it wouldn't be like me if I didn't cover anything on risk management. You know what I'm like. But, what's Tana's thoughts?
The thing is, okay, caring about people is good, but as Charlie mentioned, that you may this workplace may not be let's say a stable, let's say head office, okay, you know, everybody, so you know, paying attention to a person which is not engaging, you know, it might be easy, but you know that we are working in, let's say, projects that we have like, you know, 1,000 to maybe sometimes 20,000 people, okay? And giving care, proper care to these people starts with HSE incentive programs, from my point of view, and the disciplinary action programs, because sometimes removing someone from, my perspective, removing someone from the project, you know, putting him or her in a plane and sending back home is the proper care for some cases, okay? And because you may not be able to spend quality time with each and every one of them, okay? This PBS is important part because you are engaging people's We have done before hazard school. I mean, we were taking people to that hazard school. We were asking them to get these, you know, let's say faulty scaffolds, the other hand tools, you know. We were asking them to make observations, so we were, you know, getting these in line. But I want to say that again, reasonable care is important, making your risk assessment, because you may want to spend your time with the you know, people which you can, you know, get them engaged, you know, rather than, you know, if a person is you know, constantly violating the workplace safety rules, then, you know, from my point of view, you just don't spend the time too much. I mean, just move on. I mean, you know, just that's what I'm thinking, being realistic. That's my
yes.
So
Mhm.
yeah, thanks, Tana. Some really good points there. So my take on risk management and care is, when I look at risk management, I look at the safety continuum, which I keep going on about. It starts from design through to engineering, through to procedures, through to people. Care is probably another component that's in there all the way through. Some elements, some bits you can drop off, but care is there. When you design something, you take care that you're following the standards. So it's almost at a sort of a level which is not people focused, but there is a care, you know, due diligence in terms of doing design right. When you're engineering it, Charlie, you're in the construction phase for the BRT project, okay? You have to care about the individuals. You talk about workers' fatigue. You talk about heat stress and all of those things. That's showing care. When you talk about procedures, you're writing procedures with people in mind, because the risk management function or risk is all about the two products, consequences and likelihood. Now, in terms of consequences, it's about hazards. You don't want to harm people. So your procedures are written with that in mind. You try and eliminate as many of these based on that hierarchy of controls. And then we, of course, come to the big thing, which is all about people. But funnily enough, people are in all the way through, aren't they? They're in design, they're in engineering, they're in procedures, and all the way through to the people side. So care is an integral part of a risk management process. So I hope I did some justice there with my thoughts, but certainly that's what I think, Jennet, in terms of risk management and care.
Yeah, I like Louisa's comment. Thank you so much, Sony. Louisa's comment: care is a commitment, aspiration, respect, and engagement. It's absolutely great. I would like to summarize our discussion today. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here as a host and having me as a member of this wonderful, fantastic team. I'm very happy to discuss this topic, continue discussion on the workforce engagement that Charlie and Sony and Sanjay started on Tuesday. And the summary will be talking about workforce engagement. We talked about leadership. We talked about how to get buy-in for employees and care. Some background noise is coming. And care was one of the fundamental elements that we discussed today. From one side, we mentioned that it's about how to express care. An expression of care might be different if we're talking about smaller projects and the larger projects like Tanner or Charlie mentioned, where you don't have that ability to go around and demonstrate that care. But in that case, we mentioned that care might be expressed along with the hierarchy of risk control, talking about the care starts from the strategic management, from risk management, risk profiling, design, purchasing, facility management, talking about maintenance, talking about the hierarchy of risk control, where at the end we do have people, moral and ethical issues and being human. We mentioned that, and I think Sebor mentioned in Ghana, that care is also about legislation, and it's about common duty of care and bringing all the way up the employer's responsibility to have a reasonable care after their employees. That's another good point that we discussed today. And we mentioned that care is important, but we need to consider mental health. We need to consider, do we have enough power, capability, and ability to share that care, especially when that care is not well accepted. We need to have that balance between caring for employees and getting back back that care. And I think I covered all the topics that we discussed today. I would like to thank you one more time. Any other final thoughts from you guys? Gemma?
From me,
Can I just to finalise? Sorry. Can we get the dog back next week, please?
You're
Can we
running
have the dog back?
Anyway, running.
And I think that the issue that we're talking about there, I think the issue we were talking about, which Sonny mentioned earlier, about tough love or tough care. I'm sure Gemma, I'm a dog owner, and we care for our dogs primarily because we know that they will provide us with unconditional love in return. But there will be a day that we will have to take care of that dog and do something that we wouldn't want to do because the dog is not capable of looking after itself, and its quality of life is deteriorated to such a state that actually that duty of care is to do what we don't think is right, but it really is our duty of care to that animal that has given us so much unconditional love in return. So that kind of, if I use the sort of canine aspect of this to bring it back into the human aspect about tough caring, having and being tough and doing the right thing, even though that may be difficult. So I've done it myself, Gemma. I've been there, and it's not a very nice thing to go through. Can we have the dog as part of the street team?
woof woof. I think Jennet, you've opened up a really interesting set of conversations, and I think some of these conversations are very tough because everybody, when you get the human factor into it, everybody's got a different opinion, different thoughts, different views. I've worked in Ghana. I understand what Salom's saying about where the boundaries of care are very, very finely defined in Nigeria and Ghana. It can be abused very easily. Tanner, you've got a personal experience on this as well. So I think you've opened up a really fantastic conversation. And from me, my side, thank you very much for hosting it. You gave me a back seat, and I always enjoy sitting in the back as well. So.
I would like also to thank our listeners, all of you guys, Luisa, Jorge, Grzegorz, Kamona, George, all of you guys. We're happy to see you again. Let me remind you that the live show is on Tuesday and Thursdays. Should you have any questions, shoot an email. We'll be happy to discuss and present new topics. Thank you guys one more time. Congratulations. Have a nice evening.
Can I just say one more thing before I go? Hoda, welcome. Finally, I see your comments on the show. Hoda and I worked in Iran together, so it's nice to see her on there. So thanks again, Jennet.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.